Welcome back to Yusuf Reacts, where we dive into the world of iconic movies. Today, we're stepping into the world of espionage, action, and a lot of style. With A View to a Kill, the 1985 James Bond classic starring Roger Moore. Let's get into it. This film takes us on a thrilling ride, as Bond uncovers a sinister plot by industrialist Max Zorin, played brilliantly by Christopher Walken. Zorin plans to flood Silicon Valley and dominate the tech industry, a villainous plot that's both ambitious and surprisingly relevant today. From the snowy peaks of Siberia to the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the locations are as breathtaking as the stunts. And let's not forget Grace Jones as Mayday, Zorin's formidable henchwoman who steals the show in every scene she's in. Roger Moore returns for his seventh and final outing as James Bond. While he was noticeably older than in his earlier films, Moore's charm and wit still shine through. Christopher Walken as Max Zorin is the perfect blend of menace and eccentricity. And Grace Jones? She's iconic as Mayday, intense, unpredictable, and unforgettable. The Golden Gate Bridge finale is one of the most memorable action sequences in the Bond franchise. Suspense, high stakes, and stunning visuals sits a masterpiece of 1980 seconds action cinema. We can't talk about A View to a Kill without mentioning its soundtrack. Duran Duran's title song became a global hit and is still one of the most iconic Bond themes ever. It perfectly captures the glam and excitement of the film. Of course, no movie is perfect. Some critics found the pacing uneven and the age gap between Moore and his love interest, Stacey Sutton, played by Tanya Roberts, raised eyebrows. But let's be real, this is Bond. We're here for the action, the gadgets, and the larger-than-life villains. The recovery of a microchip from the body of a fellow British secret agent leads James Bond to mad industrialist Max Zorin, who is scheming to cause massive destruction. James Bond has one more mission. Bond returns from his travels in the U.S.R. with a computer chip. This chip is capable of withstanding a nuclear electromagnetic pulse that would otherwise destroy a normal chip. The chip was created by Zorin Industries, and Bond heads off to investigate its owner, Max Zorin. Zorin may only seem like an innocent man, but is really planning to set off an earthquake in San Andreas, which will wipe out all of Silicon Valley. As well as Zorin, Bond must also tackle Mayday, an equally menacing companion of Zorin, while dragging Stacey Sutton along for the ride. MI6 agent James Bond Roger Moore is sent to Siberia to locate the body of 003 and recover a Soviet microchip. Upon doing so, he is ambushed by Soviet troops but flees in a submarine. Q analyzes the microchip, establishing it to be a copy of one designed to withstand an electromagnetic pulse, made by government contractor Zorin Industries. Somebody inside Zorin is connected to the KGB. Miss Moneypenny Lois Maxwell and in Frederick Grey Geoffrey Keane, the British Minister of Defence. Bond visits Ascot Racecourse to observe the company's owner, Max Zorin, Christopher Walken, a psychopathic industrialist, the product of a Nazi genetic experiment, who plans to destroy Silicon Valley to gain a monopoly in the microchip market. Sir Godfrey Tibbett, Patrick Macnee, a racehorse trainer and MI6 agent, believes Zorin's horses, which win consistently, are drugged, although tests proved negative. Through Tibbett, Bond meets with French private detective Achille Aubergine, who informs Bond that Zorin is holding a horse sale later in the month. During their dinner at the Eiffel Tower, Aubergine is assassinated by Zorin's bodyguard Mayday, Grace Jones, Zorin's lover and chief of staff. She seemingly possesses superhuman strength, who subsequently escapes rescued by Zorin in a speedboat in the river. Bond and Tibbett travel to Zorin's estate for the horse sale. Tibbett poses as Bond's valet. Tibbett wanders into the stables and finds one horse vanishes after being brought into the stables. Bond notices a woman visiting Zorin, who has written her a check for $5 million. At night, Bond and Tibbett break into Zorin's laboratory, where he is implanting adrenaline-releasing devices in his horses. They also find Zorin's warehouse with millions of crates of microchips. Zorin identifies Bond as an agent, has Mayday assassinate Tibbet, and attempts to have Bond killed by dropping their car in the lake. With both Bond and Tibbet inside, Bond survives by breathing air from the tires. General Gogol Walter Gotell of the KGB confronts Zorin for killing Bond without permission, revealing that Zorin was initially trained and financed by the KGB but has now gone rogue. Later, Zorin unveils to a group of investors his plan: main strike to destroy Silicon Valley, which will give him and the potential investors a monopoly over microchip manufacture. Silicon Valley has 250 plants producing 80% of the world's supply of microchips. Zorin wants 100 ohm from each investor for this task. Bond goes to San Francisco and meets with CIA agent Chuck Lee David Yip, who claims Zorin is the product of medical experimentation with steroids performed by Dr. Karl Mortner Willoughby Gray, a Nazi scientist who is now Zorin's physician. Mortner was grabbed by the KGB after the war, and hence was never tried for war crimes. Bond then investigates a nearby oil rig owned by Zorin after reports that all crabs near that oil station just disappeared. And while there finds KGB agent Paula Ivanova Fiona Fullerton recording conversations and her partner placing explosives on the rig. Ivanova's partner is caught by Mayday and killed. Bond has gone underwater to check what Zorin was up to. The pumps were turned on and Bond had used his oxygen tank to jam the fans and escape. This led to a search and capture of Paula's partner. Zorin thinks KGB wants to eliminate him, but Ivanova and Bond escape. They spend a night together recounting past stories and Paula sees Bond take the recording. Later, Ivanova takes the recording from Bond's case, but finds that Bond had switched tapes. Bond is perplexed that Zorin is pumping seawater into his pipelines. Bond tracks down state geologist Stacy Sutton Tanya Roberts at the California Office of Conservation, the woman Zorin attempted to pay off, and discovers that Zorin is trying to buy her family oil business. Stacy tells Bond how she has used all of her money to fight Zorin in the courts and has sold even her furniture. The two travel to San Francisco City Hall to check Zorin's submitted plans on how many oil wells he has near the Silicon Valley area. After Bond tells Stacy that Zorin is pumping seawater into his oil wells instead of taking crude out, this has the potential to trigger a major quake. However, Zorin, who has been alerted to their presence, kills the chief geologist and leaves, and sets fire to the building to frame Bond for the murders, and kill him at the same time by trapping them inside an elevator and setting fire to it. Bond and Stacy escape in a fire engine when the police try to arrest him. Bond and Stacy infiltrate Zorin's mine, discovering his plot to detonate explosives beneath the lakes along the Hayward and San Andreas faults, which will cause them to flood, produce a massive earthquake as a result, and submerge Silicon Valley forever. A larger bomb is also in the mine to destroy a geological lock that prevents the two faults from moving simultaneously. Once in place, Zorin and his security chief Scarpine Patrick Beauchot flood the mines and kill the workers. Stacy escapes while Bond fights Mayday. When she realizes Zorin abandoned her, she helps Bond remove the larger bomb, putting the device onto a handcar and riding it out of the mine, where it explodes and kills her. Escaping in his airship with Scarpine and Mortner, Zorin abducts Stacy while Bond grabs hold of the airship's mooring rope. Zorin tries to knock him off, but Bond manages to moor the airship to the framework of the Golden Gate Bridge. Stacy attacks Zorin to save Bond, and in the fracas, Mortner and Scarpine are temporarily knocked out. Stacy flees and joins Bond out on the bridge, but Zorin follows them out with an axe. The ensuing fight between Zorin and Bond culminates with Zorin falling to his death. Mortner attempts to attack Bond with dynamite, but Bond cuts the airship free, causing Mortner to drop the dynamite in the cabin, blowing up the airship and killing himself and Scarpine. General Gogol wishes to award Bond the Order of Lenin for foiling Zorin's scheme, but Robert Brown reports that he is missing. At Stacy's home, Hugh Desmond Llewellyn sends a remote-controlled surveillance robot in to search the residence, whereupon it discovers Bond in the bathroom with Stacy. A View to a Kill may not be the best Bond film, but it's certainly one of the most entertaining. From Walken's wild performance to Jones' magnetic presence and Duran Duran's killer soundtrack, this movie has something for every Bond fan. Let me know in the comments what's your favorite moment from A View to a Kill? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into classic movies. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.